me a spreadsheet. Yeah.
Day one.
Got all the bios. Oh, day one. Day one. So this does not have George's then.
Yep. So now you have both.
Oh, okay. That was interesting. Okay, so
we got 1 minute to start.
Okay, well, I got sidetracked on the one that I didn't need to look at. So let me see if there's another one here. I don't see day two.
Tab, second tab.
Second tab. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, yeah. It just says day one, so I didn't think to look in a second tab. Okay. All right, I got it here, day two. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So something like George Compass is the director of the Teaching, Learning, and Development Center at Yamama.
That's right.
Yes.
And KSA works for the Center for Executive Education. Georges, I guess. What do you like, George or George? Georges.
You can call me Gorgeous. It's fine.
Gorgeous. Okay.
Gorgeous. Interesting.
Okay. Between a PhD in technology enhanced learning from Lancaster University, currently the chair of the TESOL's. Oh, there's an artifact in here. TESOL's ANPC Affiliate Network Professional Council. Okay. All right. I guess I can do that.
Yeah. You've just rehearsed it.
Well, you know, it's better to run it through so you see like where the artifacts are. They don't throw you, you know, that sort of thing. Or let's see, is it Gorgeous or Georges?
Yeah.
Georges.
Well, interesting that, okay, it could be like, you know, Jorge. Well, that's what Georges told me. That's how it is, I think.
George, say your name for me, please.
Georges is fine.
Georges.
There's always
Georges.
conflict with my name, so let's stick with Georges for now.
Georges, okay. Got it. All right, so we'll go for that. Let me get back into Zoom here. Okay. So videos are off, no problem. That's a good thing. I think maybe you learned that yesterday, turn all the videos off.
Okay, I think it's time.
Okay.
Let's turn on the cameras. Okay. And we're already streaming and live, right?
I haven't had a chance to check because I was running in and trying to, I was going to check it on another computer, but I got stuck up on this other thing here. So let's see. And while I'm here and I've got things buried away, I want to see what Georges is talking about. So it looks like he's talking about the role of English language teacher during COVID. Okay. All right.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for passing by that early in the morning on a weekend for those who have a weekend. Today is the second day of, you know, teaching or Teachers Learning Together Summit, all right, hosted by Learning Together web heads. Thank you, Vance, once again, for being part and parcel of this event and for supporting, you know, me and all the presenters here. Would you like to be on camera, Vance, or you're not ready to show on camera?
No, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm fine. Are you going to start it for me or you want me to start it? I guess I'll probably have to start it myself.
I thought you were already a co-host.
No camera.
No camera? Forgot. Sorry about that.
It's a good thing we haven't started yet.
Yeah, so now you can...
yes. Okay, yeah. There we go. All right.
Good morning.
Yes. Just a minute. Yeah. Oh, I put on a shirt. Okay. All right.
I gotta double check these little things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So are we ready to start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well,
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, we're in day 2. We're starting off day 2 in the Teachers Learning Together Summit. And we have with us Georges Corpus. And Georges is the director of the Teaching, Learning, and Development Center at Al Yamama University in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And he works for the Center for Executive Education. And he's pursuing a PhD in Technology Enhanced Learning from Lancaster University. He's currently the chair of TESOL's ANPC, that's Affiliate Network Professional Council. And he's going to talk to us today. This is a keynote session. He's talking about the role of the English language teacher during COVID-19. So Georges, the floor is yours.
But before that, George,
before.
You know that George is a computer science specialist. He is a computer science specialist, very much like you, Vance, right?
Oh, well, I don't know. I taught computing for a while, but I don't know what I specialize in.
Later on, he got into EFL, TESOL, all right? Mm-hmm. Very much like you, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah?
The other way around. I was a teacher, and then I picked up computers. Because I started in 1976, so it was a few years before I discovered computers. So, well, like 1979, I started writing about them.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's your floor now. I'm sorry. Georges.
Okay, we're cutting in your time, Georges.
That's okay. That's all right. So good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. So thank you, Vance, for the introduction. Thank you, Hannah, for organizing all this, and to everybody that's involved. I know that it takes a long time and a lot of work to organize these sessions, especially 1 day, 2 days, or multiple sessions. So today, let me just share my screen. We're going to be talking about the teacher's role in the pandemic. Initially, I thought about talking about the English teacher's role, but then I think I want to make it a little bit more global. So I hope that everybody is okay with that, and we can see how that works out. So on the left, you see a nice picture of tangerines, and I put tangerines because at this time in Greece, originally I'm from Greece, so it's a time when we have oranges and tangerines. So I just wanted to remember, maybe I'm homesick because I haven't been to Greece for a long time. So this is what November reminds me of. October, November, December, this is when we have these kinds of fruit. So a little bit about tangerines that I didn't know, and I thought it was interesting, was that it's named after Tangiers in Morocco. And this is the port that it was first shipped in Europe and in Florida in the US in the 1800s. Before that, there were no tangerines around, it seems, but they've been cultivated in China and Japan for more than 3,000 years. So because of that, we call them tangerines. And it's something that, maybe you want to have a tangerine today just to make you feel that it's the fall is coming and winter is closer to that. Now, after that, let's see what we're talking about today. So I thought I was going to give you a little bit of a background in regards to the teaching and the role of teaching in general in class. How has this changed because of the pandemic, and how do I see the future? Of course, I'm not a futurologist, or I cannot say how things are going to be in the future, but I would like to give you an idea and see how things can work from there. Now, primarily, the teacher's role in class. It's not a monodimensional thing, it's multidimensional. So teachers, of course, are there to facilitate learning, and they have been doing that for a long, long time. And we'll see in the next slides since when they have been having this kind of authority in the class. So they're considered like being the source of knowledge. Then they're also there to nurture values, because when we're in class, either it's an English class, or sociology class, or math class, in school or in high school or at the university, or doing executive programs with other folks from our company, this is where we learn lots of different kinds of aspects of life and values, like team working, respecting, working with others, etc., etc. Teachers also motivate students. So, and you will see students saying, well, I like Mr. John's class more because he helps me, he's good to us, he always stays after class, he responds to our emails now, he does that, or Miss Maria does this or does that. So teachers motivate. They strengthen the bonds. They strengthen the bonds between students, student to student, student to teacher, or even teacher to teacher when it comes to professional development. And in any way that they can, and I think they have done, teachers, we have done that actually for, I will say, thousands of years. We have supported students in their journey. We don't always stay in, what happens in class. We support students outside of class. We help them in their life. We mentor them. We guide them. We do all sorts of things for them. Now let's take a step back and see how has teaching been in the last few hundreds or maybe thousands of years. Of course, as I'm Greek, I would go back to ancient Greece. So you see, this is most likely several thousand years ago, maybe 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago. And you see how teaching works, right? So you have the authority, the teacher, then you have the students. The students are listening, mostly interacting somehow, but they're still listening to the teacher or the person who's there to teach them and tell them what they need to do. He's sharing his knowledge. Now let's go a little bit after the Middle Ages. So this is how teaching used to happen in the Middle Ages. Pretty much the same thing, nothing has changed. The authority, the teacher has a book, and then the students are sitting, listening, most likely interacting with the teacher. Moving along the time, this is a class in Paris in the 1900s. Yet again, you have authority on the side this time, and now you have a student talking, but still we see the same kind of environment. The United States in 1990, the teacher's in the front, the students are just sitting there, again interacting, but listening to the authority. And moving along to China, 2020, this is a lunch break, right? Again, the same style. Now, what does that tell us about all of these different times? The teaching pretty much has not changed during this time. So from ancient Greece to the 1900s, to the medieval times, to the 90s, to this year. Is there real change? Well, there is, and that technology, of course, has impacted that, because the teacher is no longer considered more of a facilitator rather than source of knowledge. So when sometimes, for example, my students ask me, so what does that mean? Or do you know about this? Or do you know about that? I say, well, no, I don't. Maybe you can go online, find out, and then you can let us know. And sometimes they feel puzzled. They're like, you don't know? I'm like, no, I'm Mr. George. I'm not Mr. Google. So they, at the beginning of when we first start the class, because this is maybe an attitude they haven't seen from other teachers or instructors at the university, they feel perplexed. But as the semester moves along, they really change their behavior. And then, with different techniques, all sorts of different behaviors, they do understand that we're now more in a community of practice rather than, the teacher being the boss and the teacher being the source of knowledge. So we've been talking about that. And then let's see, though, in that sense, if the teaching methods have changed. So I've hidden out the name of the person that said that. And the first one reads, this person wanted a place where children love to go and stay there, and they play with things which enhance their education by playing. Do you think that's relevant today? Or is it something that's, kind of old school? You can chat, you can use the chat box if you want. Yes, no. Is that something that would be relevant to us today? The question is for the first three sentences. This person says, it's a famous person, wanted a place where children love to go and stay there, and they play with things which enhance their education by playing. Is that something that is relevant today or not? Yeah, right. The second one, this person gave importance to nursery education, and this is where a lot of stress on education should be given. Is that something that is relevant today or not? Right, the same thing. So any guesses who this person was? Somebody said Montessori, but it's a little bit older than Montessori. Any other ideas? Who could that person be? I'll give you a hint, Greek. I know I had to use Greeks. Well, this is Plato. So old story, right? So with that, I just wanted to show you that certain things have not changed, right? Since Plato's time, which was at least 2,300 years ago. So it's quite interesting to see how education and the models that we use have not generally changed. They stay the same. And then, yeah, that's when he was there. Of course, since Plato, we've had different innovations in class. So, people used to use blackboards, then whiteboards, then interactive whiteboards, then this and that and the other. Or they use desks or different kinds of desks. People, do circles, they sit on the floor, they use tables, and so on and so forth. So technology has impacted. It has impacted the way that we teach. In general, certain models and certain notions and ideas have been the same for the past maybe thousands of years, and it hasn't significantly changed. And then we come to 2020, and then this happens. I don't know if you can understand from the picture, but it's talking about the pandemic and how did that happen all over the world, everywhere, in different parts of the world. Of course, different times, different impact, but it has affected all of us. It was a disruption. And when we talk about disruption, usually when we talk about education, we only think that disruption happened in education, but I mean, the lens that we see it. But it's actually a disruption that happened everywhere. A disruption that happened in businesses, a disruption that happened in travel, society, as well as education. So for businesses, of course, and this has impacted all of us. I mean, there were closures, there were limitations, there were products that were not available, services that were not available. There were certain delays in all sorts of things that we wanted. Travel restrictions. If you know me or if you follow me on Facebook, you know that I love to travel. So this has put me actually in a prison, I should say, for the past, since March, travel bans. So no, I mean, traveling is not available. People cannot move, and it's actually impacting, the restrictions are impacting the way that, we travel, either for business or for pleasure, for family. Some of us are working in countries that we're experts, so it's very, very important for us to travel. And this is something that has impacted us, not only, in our life, emotionally, in different kinds of levels. Now, there has been impact in the society. There have been changes of norms. So I'll give you an example of Saudi Arabia. And I mean, it's international, but here I think it's more common that, when people meet, they have to shake hands. I mean, it's the first thing that you do. Either you're a student, teacher, if you're meeting outside, if it's a friend, if it's somebody you just met. And this has changed. Now you see people just not even doing the elbows because they're scared, they're afraid. Behaviors have changed, and people are becoming more, I think, agoraphobic in a sense. So they don't want to be out with other people. So in discussions we have with friends or colleagues, when we have a social time, people are saying, like, I don't want to go out. Even if I order something or I get, a meal for my family and they don't deliver, I just want to go get it and come back home. So it's a change a behavioral change, and it has impacted the society, and it does affect human behavior. And as I teach this semester, I've been teaching sociology. It's actually one of a very important aspect of sociology, and we're actually doing some research and writing papers about how did the pandemic affect the Saudi society. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting what the students are going to be finding. Last but not least, education impact. There has been a paradigm shift. I was in a discussion at the beginning, I think, maybe March or April, and there was a lady that I didn't write down her name, but we were in a breakout room, and she was saying that what has happened now is an educational renaissance. So everything has changed, like technology has taken over so much of our teaching that it's actually changing the way that we teach. It made me think. I do agree for the term educational renaissance. I mean, usually when we're pushed, the results are, I shouldn't say better, but they're faster, right? So, or the process is faster. So we've been talking about incorporating technology, putting technology in the classes for, I don't know, many years now. But what has happened now, it's, I think, phenomenal. So lots of changes, and there was not enough time. So this is what I was going to say that happened in our institution. This is what we got for 24 hours. We were not allowed to go to, physically go to the university, and we were given about 24 hours to prepare for our classes without knowing what are we going to use. I was in the team that was training the faculty, of course, as the director of the center, and it was panic mode. So actually we were kind of like that. This is how we were, because we had so many options and so many platforms that we had to see which one we can use and how we could do rapid training to our faculty. And this comes as, to show how prepared we were to do that. Can you all see the screen? I think Sahar says the screen disappeared. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, George.
All right.
It's
okay. Thank you. Great. All right. So moving along, so we had all of these options, and then it was very difficult to decide, because this actually, as I was saying, it showed us that we had never trained our faculty, and because there was no need. So yeah, we used to use Zoom for meetings once in a while, for meetings that were with people in other countries. We didn't want to use the telephone or anything, but we never had any proper training. I didn't have training. I had to go and find and study and research about them, right? So we did decide at the end to use Zoom for certain reasons. It was easy, it was cost effective, and so on and so forth. And it so happened. Now, once we did start we decided what we were going to use, then came, the avalanche of online teaching tools, so many teaching tools, so many applications, where a university, for example, our university has 3 different colleges with several departments, several majors, minors. So they all have different needs. So for example, the architecture department had other needs than the English department or the law department or the humanities department. So we were in panic to find the tools that they would help them in their educational journey. Now, you have to think that from, as I said earlier, from a multidimensional perspective. So my part as a trainer for the faculty was to take care of the faculty, but we also had to take care of the students, which was another burden, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. Lots of challenges. It was, as I call it, I was going to call it a bumpy road, but it was a very, very bumpy road. So there were lots of challenges. First of all, connectivity issues, internet issues, then hardware issues. Not everybody had a strong enough computer, or they needed the laptops or the computers for family members, because we were on lockdown. So this actually made us see the digital divide that we had: faculty, students, connectivity, and everything. We did support our faculty all the way that we could. So we did give them laptops, we did purchase new laptops, we provided internet service, we did all sorts of things. We bought subscriptions on applications, on programs, on websites. So we tried to make the process the easiest possible. But still, it was bumpy, because you have to think the magnitude of hundreds of faculty members being asked to change from a physical, from a face-to-face class teacher into an online teacher. And that's difficult. Now, primarily, as I said, the major issue and the major challenges that are faced in general is the internet. And not everybody has an internet connection, one. Two, people may have limited data. And you know, when you stream on Zoom, when you use Zoom, I mean, it takes, the data goes quickly. It was really, really fast the way that it was going. And, you know, there are other cases that people do not have an internet connection. And this is when other problems occur. Sorry. So the pedagogy, and this is something that I'm going to be talking a little bit about later, is teachers were also not aware. They didn't have the pedagogy of teaching online. They didn't have the knowledge. Because as you may have seen, and through all this professional development, I think since February or March, that you know, there has been around for English language teachers or teachers in general, teaching online is different. It has different norms, different ideas, different challenges, all sorts of things. You have to teach synchronously, asynchronously. You have to incorporate online flip learning. I mean, we did a whole session with Heike yesterday about that model. It is challenging. And as I always say, you have to be cautious on which professional development webinars you attend and what kind of ideas you incorporate. Then technology, then the tools, and then of course the training. The training, I mean, either in-house or outsourced, it has to be specific to what your needs are. Now, we talked about our teaching earlier and that it has been the same. And now we're going to see if our teaching changed. So primarily, and we'll see that the medium changed, right? So we came to that. The picture, as you see, that we haven't had before. So the medium changed. So what we teach has not changed. Like the syllabus hasn't changed, the material hasn't changed, but the medium changed. So instead of being face-to-face, we're just being transmitted electronically. And this is, I think, something that I think we should pride ourselves that we did a very, very good job despite all the difficulties. Then, as I said earlier, the pedagogy of online teaching is different. I mean, how you plan your lessons. I think we were at a session yesterday with the career path development, talking about tasks. So one of the things, for example, that is different in online teaching would be that you break down tasks. So you don't have large tasks that you might have in a class, or groups. You cannot afford to have groups, but you have breakout rooms. But then not all platforms have breakout rooms. So you have to, you know, it's more tailor-made. It's more, as I say, it's something new. So it's something different. So you have to see how you can adjust online teaching into your own environment. And this is something that it has taken a lot of resources from our free time, because we have to go outside our teaching hours, outside our working hours, and do webinars. And if you know me or Hannah or Vance or pretty much everyone that does webinars, this is all done during our free time. It's not done during our working hours. Now, this has been our norm, right? And as I said, I teach at a university, and opening cameras here is not so much common, and from what I hear is not in different parts of the world. So it has been a very, very lonely teaching hours, because, you know, when you're in a face-to-face environment, you see their faces, you see their facial expressions, you see pretty much everyone. When they're hiding behind screen, then it becomes more challenging. But I think with different kinds of techniques, with different kinds of, helping them, supporting them, I have a challenge every week, like they have to wear something funny, and we take a group picture and this and that and the other. With different kinds of techniques, you can have students open their cameras or at least say hello or goodbye. So just, to still keep that humanity in the classroom. Challenges. So earlier we talked about all those challenges that we faced. We didn't know how to teach online. We didn't have ready curricula. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. But on the other hand, we also need to think about the students. And pretty much the same technological challenges are faced by both. So I live in a country where pretty much everybody has the latest cell phone. They have a laptop, they have a tablet, most likely multiple devices in the house. So I assumed, and I guess we assumed, that they know how to use them. The answer is no. They don't know. And surprisingly, students may not be able to send an email. Students were not able to connect on Zoom. Students were not able to use their laptops properly. They don't have the ability, they don't have Word, they don't have Office on their, they don't know about Open Office. They don't know that with the university ID, they can download a free copy of Microsoft Office. They were not aware because they didn't have to use it up until now. So that was a steep learning curve for them. And I can say for my institution, we extensively held sessions. We were actually, the registration department was calling them if they have the devices, if they have the software, if they need help from the IT department. It was kind of like a peaceful war, as I say it. But we did try. But in any case, I want you to think that even now, I mean, we're in the third semester being online, half of spring semester, the whole summer semester, and we're already in week 6 or week 7 of the semester of the fall semester. And yesterday, yeah, the ministry had announced that we're going to be online for the first month and a half. And then yesterday they just announced we're going to be online for this whole semester. So this is going to continue until, December. And then they're going to reassess the situation. But what I want to stress is be supportive of the students. Yes, there will be some examples of students taking advantage of the situation, but there will also be students that, are shy. They don't want to turn on their camera. They don't want to talk. They don't want to open their camera because they don't know how to put a virtual background. They don't want you to see where they're connecting from. They don't want them to be embarrassed. So what I would say is, please be supportive of students. This is very, very important, because as you would in a class, you always have the shy student that sits in the back of the class and does not interact with the others. It's the same online. You just have to spot them, and you just, what I usually do is I would take each student on a breakout room during the class and have a short discussion with them. How do they feel? What do they like about online teaching? How do they, how can I make this better? If they have any problems, any issues. And this actually made the team, my class, work better. We provided solutions. Yes, I would say you can pat yourself on the back. We did a very good job. If we have experts even in this room. We have people who have been teaching online for many years, tens and hundreds of years. Did I say hundreds? I meant tens. So Heike or Vance or those people are gurus of online teaching. But I think the rest of us, we did a very good job given the circumstances. So we did provide solutions, we did help, we did support, we did pretty much anything that we could. Yes, it was a bumpy road, lots of problems, but yeah, it's okay. We made it. So I think you should feel very, very good about it. And then the learning. I think we achieved what we were supposed to achieve. And when we talk about learning, although maybe your class might be about teaching English, or mine is critical thinking or sociology or anthropology or math or chemistry, it did happen. And maybe if you haven't achieved your learning outcomes, that's okay. Students got to learn some real life skills that they're going to use in the future, or they might have used the skills they learned in your class to help their brother, their cousin, their friend, etc. So see it from that perspective. Don't stay so much focused that they didn't learn the past perfectly, but they know how to use Zoom, they know how to use some tools, they know how to participate in an online class. So for that, both you and them, they should be grateful. The future. As I said at the beginning, I'm not a futurologist. I don't have a crystal ball to see what's going to happen in the future. But from what I think and what I see and from what I observe from different kinds of instances, I think that the future is going to be positive. So whether we like it or not, we have to embrace technology. It has to be, I really love that picture. It has to be part of it's a heartbeat. We always have to be, to embrace technology, to love technology. And when I say technology, not everything has to be technological. You just have to be aware, to be able to navigate through it, to be able to use a couple of tools. We're not all going to become specialists in online education in the future. So what I'm saying is, be aware of it, know about it, but you don't have to know everything, because I don't think everybody knows everything about technology. Burnout. It's a very, very important element. And I think Nelly talked about that yesterday, about well-being, and pretty much everybody, and Fatima, all the sessions that I attended yesterday, we have to be cautious. You don't have to overdo it. You don't have to attend every single professional development opportunity. Stay focused, stay to what is your interest, to what do you like, and to what is relevant to you. And try to attend some sessions that are fun and social. Don't just go strictly for PD. And I'm going to show you one at the end. There will be disruption. I'm not either pessimist or negative, but I think disruption is going to continue. Even, vaccines and everything being positive, there's no, a solution, or we're not going to go back into face-to-face in one day. It's going to take time. And I would say the tools that you've gotten since March till now, use them to your benefit. So try to make use of all the tools, of all the techniques, of everything you've done, even if we go back to class. I mean, I'm going to use some of the online teaching tools that I learned during this period back to when we go to class. I learned, we have LMS in my institution. I learned so much that LMS, Moodle, can do so much that I wasn't even aware. So be ready. We're all ready, and we're always ready. And we've actually proven that whatever the case is, education really stepped up. Education was one of the sections of the community, one of the parts of the community that really was ready and responded. And all that because of you, because of all of us, because of the teachers. And you have seen lots and lots and lots of examples of teachers doing more than what they had to. They would call students, they would drive by students home and give them, packs of homework. Schools would use buses as Wi-Fi stations, all sorts of things. Television, radio were used. Everything was to help and educate our students. So this is the new norm. I mean, have your coffee, have everything, have your laptop, have your technology, be aware, and everything is going to be fine. This is our new norm. This is how education is going to work in the future. We need to be part of this. And last but not least, join communities of practice, join places. And I think Hint talked about more than 10 communities yesterday, but I just put a list of those. TESOL International, TESOL Gulf, TESOL Africa, the Career Path PLN, IATEFL, Toastmasters. This is something new for me that I joined during the pandemic. Local associations, groups, I don't know, yoga that people do, anything that is there, either online or limited during face-to-face interactions, do that. Do join communities of practice to make certain that you have enough interaction with other people and you're part of this new norm, if I may say. So this may be our new norm, and okay, we have to accept it. Either is a student or either it's a teacher. So it's okay, we'll make it. So as I say always, everything is going to be okay. We don't have to worry too much about it. As long as we take our precautions, we're careful, we help students, we help our colleagues, we help ourselves. So this is going to be, it's going to be fine. So these are my references, and my last slide is going to be about TESOL Gulf and the Tuesdays. This is one community of practice if you want to join. And this is my email as requested by Bara. So
that was great, George.
Okay.
Really.
So I think, sorry, I had to run a little bit, but I made it.
Well, you've done just really well. And thank you for giving us that early morning keynote. And yeah, people are just saying clap, clap. All right, for starters, let me share some of the comments here. Yeah, thank you very much, George. Heartwarming session as usual. That is from Shirihan. Other people are saying, Khadija is saying, thank you. That's a great session, great talk. Heike, she loved that you focused on the technical skills of the students, often forgotten. Sahar says fruitful and insightful. Asma, again, thanks you. There are two questions in the Q&A. Let's look at them. Heike, well, I think that's for me. All right. Oh. Thank you, Heike. Well, I'm going to keep a note of that, just not to lose it along the way. Sophia says, what strategies do you use to encourage switching on the cameras? It's a struggle. What do you do?
Yeah, I do, and I'm not successful. I will be honest, I'm not successful because currently I'm teaching co-ed classes, which means males and females in Saudi Arabia. So it's not, you know, the girls don't want to turn on the cameras because of the boys, and the boys feel shy because the girls are there. So it's always a struggle. But what I do, you know, they can say hello when they come in. So they say hello and they wave at me. Or then I have once a week, I ask them to wear something that, you know, represents them, and, you know, I can see them, and some of them have used hats, some of them have used, you know, things on their head, and it's really funny. I can't say that I have a technique that will make all my students turn on their cameras. I know in other institutions, even in Saudi, that turning on their cameras is mandatory, otherwise they get an absence, which is something that, I don't know, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But I would say try to see, and maybe you can have like a Google form or a questionnaire, just ask them, why do you think, and give them maybe multiple choice, or like, just make it 2 questions. Why don't you turn your camera on? And maybe because they might be shy to tell you, so they might be able to write it, or multiple choice would be easier. And then according to their answers, maybe you can work out a way.
Interesting. Vance, would you like to share your comment here, voicing Michael?
There was a question earlier, I think, Hannah from Beatrix about the digital divide.
Oh, interesting. Okay, if you've seen that, okay, I'm sorry, I may have missed it.
No,
okay.
Yeah, I do have a question.
So,
can you
Vance,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. I was trying to put it in the Q&A, but I don't know, I didn't see anywhere to enter the question. But in any event, yeah, the question is, you said at one point during your talk that when you went into emergency remote teaching, that the materials were the same, but the media was different. And that certainly in emergency remote teaching, where you're just trying to take a course, this is what we're going to teach. We need to put this into we have to do it. We have to get it done, you know, so let's do it. But do you see where the material, where what you're teaching might change due to the affordances of the new technologies? I mean, you know, if the new normal is going to be some kind of hybrid situation, or can't go back to the old normal, how will the affordances of this new technology make a positive change, if any?
So I think when I was referring to the material, I was just referring to content, I think. So
yes,
this
exactly.
was my idea. But I think because I'm taking a course right now, actually, I'm taking a course on online course design. And this is where I'm actually learning how to better design an online course, because, you know, as I told you, we're continuing online, and I have a suspicion that second semester is going to be online, whereas, you know, we don't want to admit it yet. So I think with careful planning and with trialing some things now on our classes and see how it goes, I think this is how we can, you know, plan our courses better for the next semester or for the future. Because from what I hear also, like, some courses are going to be kept online. So there's going to be some continuous online education, whether, you know, we're face-to-face or not, because those classes may have, for example, 1 or 2 students. So the universities might decide to do online instead of face-to-face. So back to your, how is it going to make a positive impact? I think we are going to be the ones making positive impact. I think it does depend on the instructor. It does depend on the teacher. And I think we have already been positive energy ambassadors all over this pandemic. So I continue. Heike, I'm taking a course from Oxford University Continuous Education Department called Online Course Design.
Okay, it seems
and
like
just to address Beatrice's, just 1 second, if I may, Hannah, just one last thing. Just to address Beatrice's comment about the digital divide. I think it's a very, very tough situation because we don't control it. I mean, as I said, we took care of our faculty. We even took care of some of our students. We made it possible for them to connect through phones. But if we're talking about the large picture internationally, I think that teachers have made the digital divide disappear sometimes by providing different kinds of solutions. But I think we need to see it case by case, and how we can help and support. And I think the community in general has helped a lot, not just the teachers, for the digital divide issue. Right. Thank you so much, Hannah. Sorry for taking a little bit more time. Thanks, Vance. Thanks, everybody, for contributing, for being in this session. And we'll see all of you later today. We have a panel for TESOL Gulf and also other sessions. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're really honored and so happy to start our day with you here with that beautiful keynote. Thank you very much, George, and see you later. And here we go, Miss Margot Abdelaziz. Finally, after years and years, how many years? Is it 10? Okay, allow me. Okay, I think now you can unmute yourself. You need to unmute, please.
Yes, no, I am on mute. I'm doing those Zoom meetings, more often than I actually wish. My goodness, thank you, Hannah. I feel like back to my second country. That Egypt, it's my family. And I can't believe it that it is 15 years since I left.
Oh my God, 15?
Yes, I've been back. I've been on my current organization I work for. We had a conference in Egypt, I think after 4 years after I left. So I was back there. So the friends visited AUC. obviously, and Cairo universities. I used to teach there also one of the courses at one point. But for me to be with, I still call you Egypt Tisol. I'm sorry, like this, because because of my age, God forbid. But I am one of the godmothers of the Egypt Tisol. This is with a wonderful group.
This is how it's evolved. All right.
This is what it is now, and who can be more proud of it than myself, that you evolve in such a wonderful way, both on the scene in Egypt, but also internationally.
We're so grateful and so happy to have your perspective after all these years. Now, here is Dina Debs.
Personally, I don't know, Margot, hi, this is Dina. I'm so happy, actually. I'm so happy to see you after all these years. It was always a pleasure working with you, meeting with you, all the positive energy, all the support, all the time. And I remember not only in Egypt, but when I went to the US and you were there, and I could not have done it without your support, without your encouragement, without you always being there for every one of us. So really, I'm so, so happy to see you today. And it's a pleasure to be the one introducing you, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dina. You know, I hope, you know, I will be one day back to Egypt, but whenever any one of you is visiting US, I'm at the moment for a number of years. I'm living in Atlanta, down south in Georgia. So always let me know, so we can always get together.
That will be great. That will be great, definitely. So let me introduce you, because I don't want to take more of your time. I'm really, really honored to be introducing Ms. Margot Abdelaziz. Ms. Margot Abdelaziz is currently the director of the International School of Shuaifat, Lahore, member of the SABIS network, a global educational organization. Ms. Aziz has been in Pakistan for the last 11 years. Before that, she worked in the field of management and education in the United States, the Middle East, and North Africa. And I would add, had such a great influence on so many people's lives. She holds MA degrees in business administration and quality management. At present, she's enrolled in the executive MBA program at Harvard University. We are all ears. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to the talk, just like me. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dina. And thank you very much, Hannah, as well, for kindly remembering me after all of those years and reaching out to me. What I would like to share with you today, my topic is, connected with the lockdown. The times of the lockdown and the need, a desperate almost need of positivity and resilience in those totally unusual and unexpected and unpredictable times for all of us. What I will be talking to you is the combination of my own experience. This is not a research. I hope research will eventually, or maybe it's already in some way, supporting it. But these are my own experiences during the lockdown, as well as my colleagues. I have an honor and the pleasure of lead a team of over 300 in my institution, both starting from the administrative staff, the academic faculty, students, and also the supportive staff. So it's quite a diverse group of us. We are also a group of expatriates coming from different countries, not only Pakistani colleagues and nationals. So we put, in preparation for that, I put what I thought was our experience and then ran it through it, and I got, 2 thumbs up. So probably what I will be saying also and sharing is something you guys went through as well. So you know it, but let it be a reinforcement and encouragement to keep on going, because COVID-19 is still around us, it's with us. And unfortunately, until we have the scientific solution to it, which is still quite a while away from us, we will be going through the same challenges, but hopefully much, much, much more stronger. So let me start with something, which happened to us. The lockdown in Pakistan started on the 13th of March, and in a sense ended with the 15th of September. The lockdown as such was until July, and then the government put something which was called soft lockdown, but that did not include the schools, neither schools nor universities. All of those were closed continuously until the 15th of September. So basically 2 weeks ago or less, we started to function in a different ways, of course. When the lockdown came, we all were taken by surprise. Here in Pakistan, we definitely were not aware that the disease is progressing, that it is developing in the other countries. In our region, in South Asia, we felt very, very safe. Yes, we're very close to China. We have a border with China, but that border was immediately closed, except for the official economic, trade movement between the two countries. I, as a head of the institution, and the people look to me as a leader, and hopefully I pass, this task in a proper way. We started to look for the ways, well, what happens to, not to us personally, that came later, but what happens to our students? And and parents, and we immediately, 13th, it was Friday, from Monday, so we basically worked for 2.5 days, day and night, and we started online. I have a privilege and I think a luck to belong to the international organization with over 60 schools all around the world in 22 countries, and more to be opened very soon. We're going into China recently.
Seems we are experiencing connectivity problems. We lost Miss Margot Abdelaziz, and hopefully she's back. She's back.
Let's unmute myself. So the issue of online education, and the connection with the students and parents, I leave it on the side because it's a different topic that I intended to. I wanted to talk about us as an educator, what happened to us, and what were the lessons we learned during the actual lockdown, which in a sense are still in place, because here we have a very limited possibility of interaction. We wear masks all the time. We keep a social distancing. It's a mandatory thing, both inside the school and outside, wherever we move. There is a certain degree of control of the government of the number of gatherings. Most of the professional development and the contact is online. So lesson learned. Number one lesson was take your mind from the current events. What we were doing in the first period of time, we were glued to TV, either on our computers or the actual TV screens, and monitoring constantly the information, what was going on with the COVID-19 and what was happening in different countries. And definitely many of us started to be at the edge of depression, because as you know it, the information was very negative and very depressing. So the first thing I did for myself and for my staff was get away from those news, get away from Facebook as much as possible. Few minutes in the morning, few minutes in the evening, so it's what is going in the world. The rest of it, forget it. Okay. Otherwise, you cannot absorb. You cannot put a distance between yourself and the news. Not to mention that a lot of news were fake and were very alarmistic. And obviously, many of the people, including my staff, were taking it as something which is real. Number two, which we established among ourselves, was keep routine. And that was the same routine like we were having every day when we were going to the office. Getting up, taking a shower, putting makeup on, dressing up, including the jewelry, having breakfast, start working. okay? In the evening, socializing over the Zoom or on WhatsApp, FaceTime with the friends, with the family, of course, and etc. So as much of the routine, normality as possible. That kept us in the same mood of what was before the lockdown, of what was during the time when we were in a sense normal. So there was no this pajama or the training suits during the day, flip-flops. No, high heels and makeup and ready to go for the day. Spending time, and I make sure that I did it myself, but also I encourage as much as possible. I was almost checking on my staff. Spend the quality time with the family. That was the time to bond. When we were working normally, and it was, going to the office, leaving the home, going to the office, coming back, husband different time, kids different time, wife different time. Finally, we had the time together. We had the time when we could schedule. We sit down, we forget about everything, we talk, we share, we cook together, we clean after the dinner together, whatever it might be. We play together. Yes, remote working, we're supposed to work those 8 or 9 hours or whatever it is. But I always told my staff, be flexible, make yourself a breaks. Because in a remote, you can even work at 9 p.m. when everybody else goes to bed, okay? But during the time, go see what the kids are doing, go to the garden, go for a walk, take a bicycle, whatever it is, make a break and take some time with the family. Something which positivity is always for me connected with resilience. That's the two things which cannot go without separately, without each other. So one of the things which was helping all of us, it's going into the past. Thinking and looking at sometimes at the pictures or just, remembering or talking to the friends. What did we do last year, 2 months ago, over the Christmas, over the summer, whatever it was, but going into the past, into the memories, into the connections, into the conversations, into the achievements of ours of the past. And that was extremely positive. The energy after the conversations like this, after the sharing, I remember the days I couldn't go to sleep. I was still going through it. I was still remembering it. It was very, very powerful. We also realized during this time a value of relationships. I don't know about you, but myself and many of my friends here, we took relationships for granted, right? It was a normal, okay, make a call, get on WhatsApp, let's Margot go for coffee, for a dinner tonight. No longer like this. Those relationships changed. They were still there, but there was a fear that they might be, because it's not, Pakistani culture is the same like Egyptian, very human. We need to be together. We need to touch each other. We need to hug each other constantly. That was gone, and we didn't know when it's gonna come back. That was even worse part of it. So keeping the relationship going, making sure that we are in touch with each other. Doesn't matter that there is no this 2 or 3 weeks, doesn't matter how busy we are. There is not a break, every second day, with a different person. Let's get together. Let's get together as a groups on the Zoom and chat. And in the US with the friends during the summer, sort of, like getting a meals together, as much as possible. Keeping this togetherness in the relationships was a very important. I mentioned accomplishments, things which we achieved in the past, or the few days before the lockdowns happened and this isolation was imposed on us. I think, those kind of accomplishments were very important because we started to look at the ways how we still can accomplish, but it has to be in a different way than it used to be. I want to mention something which I had the program for Pakistan on positivity, and I was a little bit worried. I was moderating the panel I put together. I was a little bit worried and concerned to raise one aspect which was extremely important as it turned out. When I did, I was surprised by the positive response, and that importance of religion and spirituality. Going back to our books, going back to Quran, going back to Bible, with not a reason of, because the actual holiday religious celebration is coming, but just every day for 2 or 3 minutes, going into meditations, it started, it was extremely positive, and getting the strength back to us that we belong, that there is this higher authority to whom we can look into and send our wishes, our hopes, and our prayers for a positive change. And people really needed it and really appreciated it. What I suggested, it actually was suggested by one of my friends in Europe, in the UK, when we were talking, and I recommended it to my staff. I said, maybe that would be helpful. And actually, people were coming back and saying, yes, it helps. At the end of the day, take a daily inventory. What happened? Close the day with the positive acknowledgement. What I've done, it was important. It's gonna have the results, or maybe already had the result. I had a positive response. I had the contacts with my students. I was reaching to the staff and students over the phone. I had every day a list of up to 10 people I was calling, checking up on them. Some of the parents were reaching out to me and vice versa. That was the time that some people were getting infected with COVID-19, and I made sure that I am with them. I was checking almost every second day how their progress is, how their recovery is coming up. So, those kind of everyday list of positive things was very, very, very helpful. We all know probably, and this comes from the research, and I think this is something, a number of you heard before, that resilience is like a rubber factor. What it means, this is ability to bounce back to the positivity, to the strength, to the optimism, and to the hope. Can we get it ourselves? Yes, we can. Probably from the list of what we and my staff were doing, that could be very helpful because it helped us. We never, I don't remember a day when I was reaching out or my staff would see me on the screen that I did not have a smile on my face. Okay, and I always, even now to my students, particularly when they are back, with all of those things around them, which put them in a straitjacket, and these are young people, who losing a lot of opportunities of their age, what they could be experiencing. I always tell them, COVID-19 will be over. And every hour, every day, every week, every month brings us closer to it. So count on those days because we are on the countdown. We're not adding the days to that it will stay longer. It's gonna every day it's gonna be less. So this is a very good thing. Resilience. What resilience and positivity give us is basically psychological strength. Okay. This is something, and yes, I think, it will be unrealistic to say that myself or anyone from my friends or my staff during now those 7 or 8 months, we did not have a day, a few hours of down mood, put it this way, of my goodness, how long can I take it? When it's gonna end? What can I do to make things better for myself? And again, you know, what keeps us going is those things which I mentioned, this getting the strength back from the routine, from the accomplishments, from the relationships, from spirituality, or for discovering our new talents. I have to admit now openly to everyone, unfortunately, I did not find any new talent for myself, but many of my colleagues, many of my staff did, became the very good cooks, gardeners, writers. People started to write. I have a friend who writes poetry now. Okay, I mean, you know, she never had an idea that she can even find the rhymes to it. Another staff of mine, it's a wonderful artist. Look what positive, and we're taking from those examples, even if we ourselves do not see any particular talents in ourselves, we may be encouraged by those. We definitely, if we don't have the talent, maybe, and I think it happened to most of us, consciously or unconsciously, not consciously at all, it's the hobbies, the things we like to do, and we can do it for hours. Whatever it might be, but something which, you know, we really enjoy and make the time, the free time we have, or the breaks we take from whatever we're doing, it makes us feel good and makes us stronger. I want to say a few things, you know, which I think important, not only individually, but most of us, I think, are leading teams. So what would be the teams for the teams to build this resilience? And I jotted down something which comes from, actually from the research on the leadership. So for myself, it came from my education, which I got during my degrees.
I just wanted to remind you of the time. Okay.
Okay, can I just go through those few things? Okay, so for the team you're dealing with, focus on the roles. Okay, make sure that in those difficult times, people, whatever they need to do, whatever the role they have, this is the role they are able, capable of, and happy to do. Value each other for that. So pay those acknowledgements to the people. Doesn't matter how small it is. People need encouragement. People need acknowledgement. People need to say, well, you know what? Fantastic job. You use those, not very good job. You know, you've done well. That's not, nowadays, that's not enough. I noticed that you have to go a little bit higher, you know, and just praise a brilliant, brilliant idea. And this is what I try with my staff. Communicate, lines of communication, whatever it is, WhatsApp, phone, email, Zoom, whatever you have, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Set goals. People need to go and be focused, not on COVID-19, but what our responsibility and our role as an educator is, okay? Remember, we cannot afford, no matter what challenges, what matter how we can have to kill ourselves working, we cannot afford to have a generation of young people lost because they will not get education or the proper level of learning. So this is extremely important. Celebrate successes, and you know what? Celebrate something which is not working. By saying, oh no, we fail. No, no, no. Saying by, you know what? We found out that we can do the things better, that we can do the things a different way. Isn't it wonderful? Let's go this way. And finally, which I hope happened during your conference and maybe during my sharing, get to know each other much more deeper, in deeper sense, in a different way as a human beings, not as a position, not as a name, but as a person. It's a wonderful thing to happen. And I hope that from whatever I shared with you, it was helpful, it was reinforcement and encouraging for the future. We have a long way to go. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Dina.
Thank you so much, Margot. Brilliant and enlightening talk. Really, we have to remember these things. I definitely agree. We have also to remember, I like a lot, creating normality in the time where we are in the new normal is very important. The values of relationships, of spirituality. I mean, this is what will really keep us going and getting to know each other. So thank you very much for reminding us of all these very valuable things to keep us in this time. As you can see in the chat box, I mean, we have several comments from Sahar, great ideas that strengthen the relationship with your students and other people, which will have great positive effects on both sides. I do agree with that. So thank you very much. A lot of thank you. A true educator, I definitely agree with this. Thank you so much. It was really great to remember. Sometimes we forget in the middle of all the difficult times.
Yes.
So thank you, and extremely helpful.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I wish you all the best for the rest of the conference. And hopefully, I will be able to invite some of you to the programs we have, worldwide programs actually. We having, almost every week, sponsored by ISC Lahore. So I hope that I will be able to invite colleagues from Egypt very, very, very soon for one of those programs. Thank you, and good luck with the conference.
Sure.
Brilliant idea to have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your coming and visiting us virtually. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Hannah.
Spiritual tour. You walked us down here the lane. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And hope you can just check in and watch some of our sessions. So
yes, I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
you. I will move now to our next speaker. Again, I'm very, very grateful for Hannah for giving me the opportunity to introduce such esteemed speakers. We're having a talk that I'm sure everybody's looking forward to, problems and solutions with trainees and tutors new to online teaching. And we're having Ms. Marisa Konstantinos. And Ms. Marisa Konstantinos is a course designer and tutor on all courses from CELTA to the postgraduate Cambridge Delta. She's a publisher or published author of materials for learners, numerous articles and blog posts on ELT, and chapters on volumes on creativity and 21st century skills. Of course, the skills that everybody's now trying to see how to integrate and introduce to our students. She's also a finalist in the ELTians Awards in 2012. Achieved because she volunteered time for the ELT community. Most recently was IATEFL, LTSIG, and for free webinars for teachers around the world. So thank you very much for being with us today. Looking forward to the talk. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very, very much. Can you all hear me well? Can you hear me?
Right. Yes.
Sure. Could you type in the text chat? I'm going to be sharing my screen if I may. I don't think I'm just going to share. Yeah, I might need. Is there a whole screen sharing?
Not really.
Not really. I need to jump back and forth, right? Okay.
Yeah, just end screen and start again. Okay, it's just
okay. Good. Or I could maybe pop from one to the other. I'm just going to then start my presentation, if I may. Can you just let me look at the chat?
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Put the chat in the corner there, just in case you ask something. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm also very grateful to be in the company of people who, you know, I've learned from for a long time through the webheads, Vance, and Heike, and many others in the audience. I think it's a very strong community, and I love the fact that you brought this conference to them, Hannah. I really think it's a great idea. I think people who have been webheads have had maybe, I don't know if they've had, if I think we've had a head start on some of the issues and problems of the situation that emerged through, you know, from caused by the lockdown and the pandemic. But what I would like to share with you, without killing you with my slides, I have a lot more slides than I actually need, is some of the problems and the issues that we faced at my institution and how we tried to solve them. As some of you know, for example, Heike, who has been a colleague, a trainee of mine, and one of my important mentors in online life, I have been working online for many years, and we have been offering online instruction to our Delta trainees with the help of Heike since, you know, for at least 8 to 9 years now. So we were not new to the game of online instruction, but some of the issues that I'm going to want to share with you is that our trainees were. So I was going to do a little bit of an answer garden, but I will ask you to write in the text chat, maybe just for a little icebreaker here. What are some of the challenges and the problems you faced in online remote teaching? Would you care to share in the text chat 1 or 2 words, or a small phrase of what you've had to, of what you've had to deal with? And perhaps, yes, thank you, time. Okay, time has been named as a factor, because online time seems to be much more than actually offline time, and a lot of people complain, a lot of teachers and colleagues complain that an hour online is like 2 hours in a face-to-face classroom. Connectivity, what tools to choose? Thank you, George. Yeah. Any other ideas? Resistance from administration and student devices. Yes, student devices and participation seem to be an issue. How to adapt materials, how to assess people. So it's a really complex issue. Moving something from offline to online instruction is not easy. And although our trainees in the past, and I want to clarify that I'm not talking only about learners, but about teachers in training at my institution, and mainly CELTA trainees, but also other trainees. This is pertinent to other trainees around the world. They were already familiar with some tools. This is, it wasn't new to them, but suddenly they found themselves missing all this, you know, being in touch, having fun together, playing silly games, mingling in the classroom. You know, this suddenly stopped completely, and we've remained isolated, all of us, and, you know, for such a long time that I look at these photographs from my school and I'm almost ready to tear up. I don't know how you feel about your online classes. I would appreciate any reactions in the text chat. It was also important, it's also important to say that technology was not necessarily, I'm just going to move that to the left if I may, was not necessarily a new thing in offline instruction. Our trainees needed technology in for many different things on their courses. They needed to be able to present materials. They needed to create handouts. They needed to use interactive boards, data projectors. They needed to prepare by searching the web, look at books, scan, adapt, process text for assignments, use handouts and data projectors. So it's not all new, it wasn't all new to them. But mainly what they had to worry about was how to use all this technology to introduce language systems and skills, and maybe to collaborate outside classroom hours. For example, they might meet together after class, maybe on Skype, to prepare a lesson and so on and so forth. But this is not online instruction. In a couple of years ago, I read this card. I found this card. Sorry, I'm going to be moving this right and left because it's not exactly staying where I want it. In I think it was in 2018 that I saw this, and it was something that was put up by the World Economic Forum, and they identify the top 10 skills to survive in 2015, which is, I think, when they published this study, and things that there's the top 10 skills that they expected we would need in 2020. And then suddenly, bam, you know, we had the pandemic, which, you know, just maximized our complex problem solving. We need to think creatively and critically. For example, as George said in the text chat, how to choose tools. We need to be more creative to find solutions, to do people management in more effective ways, to learn and coordinate with others, to take control of our emotional intelligence, because the situation is so much more stressful now that it's not really so easy to be as cool and calm as before. And also to keep ourselves readily available, to keep our service orientation and negotiation skills, and to learn from the problems that we encounter, our cognitive flexibility. What additional skills do you think the World Economic Forum did not predict due to the pandemic? Do you have something to add to this list that you might like to write in the text chat for me? I would really be interested to know. I think if we look at this, the question that you know, was topmost in our mind, and in many tutors' cases who were resistant to technology, and particularly using technology in training classes or even in their classroom teaching, was that, you know, they had a resistance. And some of the reasons that we thought trainee teachers should engage in learning about tech was because they need to design or adapt materials. They need to avoid replicating the presentation practice production model. They need to be open to ideas. They need to reflect. They need to reduce talk. They need to maximize interaction. And they also need to model good digital behaviors and experiment with tools. I think also an important aspect which I've learned from being a webhead in the past is to connect and learn with and from other teachers. A lot of people new to the profession don't necessarily really understand what is this connectivity that you're asking me to engage in. I paid you to do a training course. You know, you're supposed to teach me something, and then I'm supposed to go out and use it until I reach the stage where I go on to my next course. So part of our training needs to encourage and engage people in connectivity, because in the long run, we want them to be able to do these things. We want them to reflect, to keep developing, to be sharing. And some of the best example and paradoxes of online learning and offline learning is that you learn best when you share. Would you agree that for me, sharing was one of the best ways of learning and developing myself? The act of sharing knowledge is something that helps me reflect, critically think, choose, and so that I can share important aspects of my knowledge of whatever I think I've learned. Some of the problems that we faced in our online instruction is that not all our learners or all our tutors were digital pros or even digitally involved. A lot of trainee teachers were really pre-digital. And one of the reasons is that, you know, if we had younger trainees who were maybe fresh out of university, they might have been engaged in learning in a learning management system of their university, so they were not unfamiliar. But we had a lot of older people who were in a change of career situation and who found themselves thinking, well, you know, I can barely use my email. My son opens my email for me. And yet they wanted to train to become, you know, to change their careers midlife, perhaps. And what we were hoping to do was to at least get them to the stage of being digital adopters, because maybe later they would get to the stage of being more digitally involved. I don't want to go to the Prensky dichotomy of digital natives and digital immigrants, because if I am a digital immigrant because I am not, you know, I wasn't born with a computer and my laptop in my hand, I don't think that was a very good analogy. And a lot of you, well, pre-digital, I have some better terminology. I have one of my trainees who kept losing all his assignments. He was called not a digital refugee, which some people said, but he called himself a digital deportee. I thought that was the best of all. I think some of those issues are also faced by teachers, and particularly when they're on a training course, we needed to make sure that they could at least have a stable connection. Otherwise, they would never be able to complete their studies. They wouldn't be able to connect. They wouldn't be able to teach. They wouldn't be able to use their video on Zoom and so on. But I agree, Ganga, that it is a real issue for classes. Another issue was trainers. What do trainers want? The trainers were mostly focused on the pedagogy of training and less on the technology. And this was sometimes an issue, particularly with trainers who are very, very experienced, but possibly not pre-digital exactly, but just on the verge of becoming digital adopters. And then suddenly these trainers who would really only like to do the board feedback and have the pluses and the minuses, they had to go online, and they had to use things like Linoit and Padlet and online whiteboards, and this really has freaked a lot of trainers out. I think if I go back to this diagram, which I used some time ago, to think about preparing ourselves for a digital age, I found this diagram, which I thought really was very important, and it talked about being future ready. And some of us were more future ready than others, but we have to transcend that thought and make other people future ready as well. And I think a lot of the people in the panels and the talks have been talking about creating future ready teachers and future ready learners. So a school, to become future ready, first of all, needs to rely on courageous leadership, on directors of studies, people like yourselves, directors, academic coordinators, trainers, who will introduce a culture of digital awareness and to empower teachers to create inspiring management systems or spaces for the learning and ingest and insert or introduce a sense of community, not just in the teachers, but in the learners as well. But as you said, some of you, weak networks, we need the infrastructure, we need the hardware, we need I will try to put that in my final slides when I post them. Yes, the diagram is mine, but it comes from a particular source that I will share later. But also we need to generate autonomy in our teachers and our learners. For us, our trainee teachers are our students, and part of what we need to do as well was not just to empower them as teachers, but to give them the autonomous learning skills that they would keep using for their own professional development, because they are our student teachers. So future readiness does take courageous leadership. So if you Google future readiness, this is the contract that some people discuss when they talk about future readiness. We need, thank you. We need to foster a culture of digital learning to help students and families, to empower educators, to introduce universal access and access to quality digital content and digital tools. So this is something you can read later. I talked about this slide and some of the tools that the students were already familiar with, but they also needed to look at other skills, for example, improve their search skills, to learn about voice tools, how to improve their text creation and editing skills. And I think I created this very messy diagram, I apologize for this, a long time ago, but I'm finding that it's becoming more and more relevant, because some people in the past, when I used it, I think I created about 5 or 6 years ago, they were saying, well, this is too much for a teacher to learn to acquire. And you will notice, those of you who are familiar with the names of places, that it has names in there and grouply, these are obsolete. But we're finding that training and learning and training teachers to teach in a digital age involves more and more of these skills. In the past, I thought that a little and often was good, but since then, I found that the learners had different needs and wants, and they wanted specific input sessions on digital tools. So this is research that I did some years ago. My trainees felt that it was good to do digital literacy on days 1 and 2 of their course. So if you transpose that thought about training your learners to be digitally literate, it's the same thing, but not just a little and often. And most of them wanted to be introduced to technology before their course, so they would be enabled. And this is what we did. We did create a specific course. And I think the experience that we had is something that different institutions can adapt to their own needs. Our needs were to prepare students for specific skills. For example, to use Zoom, to be able to share materials on Zoom, to use social media platforms for communications, to learn to use new tools, even though they were not specifically instructed. So we did all those things. We tried to find their level of course comfort. We used different LMSs to give them access to preparation. We gave them access to YouTube tutorials. And this was an elementary skill set that we thought they should have. But apart from that, we also felt they needed to acquire the skills of using an environment such as Zoom. We didn't particularly, I will confess to you, like Zoom very much. And we didn't like it because our learners had problems with sharing materials on Zoom. I don't know what materials you have, and because I'm not able to go out of this room, this application sharing on this webinar platform, you may want to perhaps type in the text chat if you're using Zoom, what problems you have. For example, many of our learners are using smartphones. If you're using a smartphone, you cannot download handouts. If you're using a smartphone or a tablet, you cannot even see the files that are shared. So we use different platforms and different tools to help them. And these were some of the issues that we needed to help them with. They can't remain, all of these issues, ayat. They can't download files, they can't remain themselves. Sometimes they can't use the video, but also trainees had problems. You know, they thought they could project slides like this, which is unreadable, or, you know, kill the learners by PowerPoint. Online instruction is so problematic in the sense that it can draw you into lecturing. And I think you know this, all of you, as death by PowerPoint. And we've had trainees lecturing the learners. So we had to teach them to use visuals to reduce, for example, instead of saying something, they could, you know, project an image, use imagery instead of talk. We had to teach them how to look less anxious, because a lot of people will go into the screen and look in agony over the materials because they can't find the button, they can't upload. Where is my upload button, and so on. And also to teach them about positive affirmation. Some of you said it. Being mindful, being of their emotional you know, needs, and teach them that whatever they do is fantastic because it's such an achievement. It's such an amazing triumph. We have to teach them to be more, to use online teaching more interactively. This is great. It's an online image, but, you know, teach them all the affordances of PowerPoints and animations and things like using Word, which is a great tool. Word is a fantastic tool, actually, because it's so easy. Yes, thank you. I have 4 minutes to go, and I think I want to finish in 2, just in case you have a question or 2. So we found other ways of using materials, or particularly using Peer Deck, which is a fantastic tool that makes your PowerPoint more interactive, because PowerPoint is not really that interactive. Once I've projected this, I cannot easily annotate it and so on. But also very simple tools like a Word with a view, web view as a backdrop, where they can move pictures or engage their younger learners. And Google, obviously, Google Documents. We have to teach them to use collaborative tools. This one is probably familiar to many of you. And all these are various options where the learners can write collaboratively online, and use LMS systems that will, you know, respond to their needs. I think some of the LMSs that we use are Edmodo. Some of you may be familiar with Edmodo. We use Schoology, where they can collaborate offline. And these are some of the pluses of Schoology that we found very important. You can upload it, everything is one place. So you need a good place to collect your learners somewhere. And also even simple things like Padlets, where you upload your materials per lesson. We use Google Classroom and Google Documents, obviously very much. And the trainees go into their classes, although learners don't always find it intuitive, but once you give them a little training on how to register, they can share everything. So that's it, that's me. I don't know if you have any questions But I think, you know, the transition from offline to online was very painful for, particularly for the trainees who were stopped mid-course by the lockdown. These trainees had a lot of resistances to online teaching, and we had to give them extra help and extra support. I think since then, things have somewhat changed. I think my email is here if you would like to connect with me. These are my blogs, my email, my website, and you can connect with me on Facebook.
Thank you so much,
agree.
Marisa.
Okay.
That was great, actually, and we could all relate to all what you were talking about. I made sure to come out trying to look confident. You just reminded us even how we look on the screen makes a difference. So thank you very much. It was really brilliant.
Well, it's,
and
you know, it's something
I can see all the comments.
So much.
I can see all the comments just in line with what you were saying, like Ben saying the best way to learn something is to teach it. So they say, Hike saying true, the act of sharing is the best lesson for oneself. And he likes the pre-digital expression. I can see lots of comments that definitely show that people relate to what you were saying. We all gone through very similar things. And we have here a question, I guess, having used GC, Edmodo, and Schoology, do students prefer one over the other, or they are all more or less the same in terms of accessibility and being user-friendly?
I think both of them are very good in the sense that you can, I think for the younger learners, I would suggest perhaps use Edmodo because it looks younger. I think the affordances for me are pretty much the same. You can have registers, attendance, homework. You can edit homework. You can correct homework within the LMS. But Edmodo looks like a young learner LMS. It's also great because the parents can have accounts and they can go in and check the child. Schoology looks like a more grown-up version of Edmodo. And I think it's more appropriate for older learners and teens who want to look a little bit more serious. And they don't want to be, you know, just, you know, little badges and that. But still, they need the controlled environment. It's both places are very safe. They're suitable for general districts and schools in the United States. I think, you know, you choose the one that you respond to. They're both free.
I guess this is part of the new normal, is the variety of choices and which where to go and what to choose. This is also part of the challenges we're facing. So with that, I'd really like to thank you for this enlightening and thought-provoking, I would say, talk. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it and learned quite a lot. And now I think I will pass on to Ms. Ayed.
Hello, everyone. Hi, and thank you so much, Marisa, for the wonderful presentation. I think we're waiting for Basma, our next presenter, to log in, right? Okay.
Okay, I'm just checking if you find either speakers, Basma or Ola. Basma is here.
Oh, yes, I can see Basma now, I guess.
And should be given co-host privilege.
Hi, Basma.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Hello? Basma?
Okay, how are you doing?
Perfect. We're good. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm just going to share my PowerPoint.
Until you share it, let me introduce you. قبل ما اسمع.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Basma Abdel Hamid is also known as Abla Basma, and she's a full-time, she says, troublemaker. In her free time, she's a teacher, trainer, and English instructor. She's been teaching English for more than 10 years. She's the founder of TEFLship, which is an online platform to qualify English language teachers. She's worked in the American University School of Continuing Education and several other universities and institutions. Basma is going to take us through the ebb and flow of online teaching challenges. Yep, hopefully without any troubles. The floor is yours, Basma.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this introduction. I would like to check if my PowerPoint is clear for all of you, if you can see it.
Yes, it's all clear.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for this beautiful invitation. And I'd like to thank Ms. Hanet for her beautiful invitation for this talk. Since you just did the introduction, I didn't have to do it all over again. I'll just try to be a good girl and not to make any troubles. In this talk, I will just be sharing my own personal experience with online teaching. I will be talking about how I felt about it from the beginning, moving from offline to online classes, and I'm going to be talking about some of the challenges that I have met and how I try to overcome them, if I really did, and some tips that could help other teachers who are going to begin with their online teaching as well. Maybe they will be of help to them. So since you already did this part, I don't have to do it all over again. So let me start right away. I have to admit that I was one of the teachers who would really not be okay with teaching online, no matter how I supported others to do it, but I myself didn't really feel okay about it completely, because I used to like to see my students face to face, and see their shining eyes, or sometimes even bored eyes with what's happening inside the class, and the so many or the amount of homework that I give them. So I really in the beginning, I felt that the best way of teaching is to be there in the class with the students. And later on, step by step, when we went into COVID-19 and we started to feel that I was faced with one of two choices. It's either I have to give up my passion of teaching and just wait for as long as it takes until I move into the online, until I go back to class again. So it took quite some time, and I just couldn't wait for more than this. So I had to make the very difficult decision of going online completely 100%. And my main fear of all of the things that could go wrong, because as you know, the internet always has an issue. There's always a problem with the laptop, and they just wait until the last moment of the class to start, and then you start to find that there is a problem. So I decided to start anyways, and I met some challenges. Mainly the first challenge that I had, if you can see this turtle. So this turtle reminds me of two issues that I used to face. The first one was the internet, and the second one was my laptop. My laptop was a bit like a turtle. It starts very slowly and so on. And my internet was also very bad. So I started to invest a little bit further with my internet budget and change my laptop, despite the amount of beautiful years that we had together. So I gave it up and I bought a new one. So it's a bit of a tip that could help others if they find that the internet or the laptop is not really great with them. Maybe it's time to give up some of the money that you have and invest it in your online teaching. The second challenge that I faced was the noise that I had outdoor my house, because if anybody has, people who live in Egypt, they know the amount of cafeterias and cafes that exist almost in every block. around the houses and the buildings. So what I did was a bit of a very cheap solution. I just got all of the cushions and the pillows in my house, and I just stuck them on the windows during my classes, just to decrease the noise that comes from out the house as much as I can. I also try to make my classes in the early morning before everybody in the street just wake up and make the noise that they do with the cars and the cafeterias all over around. The third thing that I used to have a problem with was the lights. So I used to have the lights at my back, like I would sit and there is a window behind me and I would open it to bring me more light. And then I realized later on when I saw the recording of my videos that I look very weird and it was very scary. So I tried to learn a little bit more about how to use the lights so that I can just, I would have it around me, in front of me, or in a way that wouldn't make me look so creepy to the students. I just don't want to scare anybody. And the fourth thing that I was struggling with, or it was a bit challenging for me, was actually getting ready and getting dressed for the online classes, because before I used to have like 2 or 3 hours before my classes to get ready. But now when you have an online class and you are at home, so you just wait for almost the last minute to get ready. So I just had to figure a way out, because I have classes that start at 5 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes I feel like I really cannot wake up earlier than this. So I started to hang my clothes and put them next to my laptop to make sure that I get dressed and be ready before the class, and looking a bit sleepy. And so one more thing that I found very provocative was the last minute cancellations from the students. When I was having my class as face-to-face or on-site class, I was like very firm with the students. They know that we have rules. They have to come on time. They just can't go absent without having permissions first. When I started with my online classes, I was a bit naive, because I thought that now we don't have any problem with the transportation. I mean, they're not going to take a long time to come from their homes to the class. So what would happen is that they will be just there at home and they will just wake up very excited to start the class. But what happened was a little bit different from what I used to think. People would just cancel the last minute. They wouldn't come to the class thinking that, okay, the teacher is just at home, so there is nothing to lose actually. So I started to learn from my mistakes, and I started to set ground rules from the beginning, just like in the offline classes. And I would just tell them that if you are late, the class will be canceled, or you will be absent. This will affect this and that. And we just have rules and consequences, just like how I used to go devilish in the offline classes. So I just started to go back to my nature and make troubles in the online classes as well. One of the other challenges that I had with the online classes was the cameras. When the students turn off their cameras, and I just find myself talking to absolutely nobody, and I don't know how I can keep my enthusiasm and be excited while teaching. And also because I found it a little bit awkward, should I ask them to turn their cameras on or not? So I started to deal with it a case by case. When I find that, for example, some students, they don't want to turn on their cameras because somehow when we turn our cameras on, the voice or the sound gets disconnected. So in these cases, I would just accept that the cameras would be off. But when I find that they might be a little bit busy or doing something else, or they are not just focusing with me, so this way, like, no, you really have to turn your camera on so that I can see you, I'm watching you, like big sister is watching you. And I just catch them if they are off task. The third point that I would also like to share which is some tips to help institutes or centers, parents, and teachers when it comes to moving from offline to online classes. Not just because of the coronavirus, but because we really never know what will happen later on. Because 2020 is a bit surprising, and like we got COVID-19, and God knows what else will happen. We can expect alien invasion or something with all of that's happening. So we just need to get ready. And if you are in an institute or you own your own center, like here in Egypt, a lot of people were having their own centers, and they pay a lot for the rent to have the rooms, and they used to have it for the private courses and so on. And after the coronavirus, everything just stopped. So right now, we just try to guide people to start in a different way and use the same facilities that they had, the same centers or the same rooms that they used to give for rent for teachers as studios instead of classes. It will be easy. They will be just investing a couple of thousands and sometimes less than this, according to every budget that everybody and the budget that they have. So they can have studios so that the teachers who were teaching in these training centers, in these places, they can actually come and shoot their own videos. Because now you can actually get a green screen with very cheap prices. Like you can just get it for 300 Egyptian pounds, and this is not really much for a training center, no matter how small it is. So they can get a green screen, they can invest in a good camera, and then they can help the teachers make their own videos or online courses by turning the classrooms into studios. And also they can start to use or to give video editing services. So because teachers usually they are or according the context that I am in, many of the teachers that I know, they really struggle with technology, and they struggle with making their own videos. So in the institute or the training center, when they turn into a studio, they can actually provide video editing services. So this way they can decrease the amount of struggle and challenges that the teachers have. And also it will be financially rewarding to them. One more thing that they can do is to add co-working space to them. So this way, the teachers who want to give their online classes from home, and they cannot do this because usually there is a lot of noise at home, especially that if there are kids running around or the neighbors yelling, like I used to have times when I was fighting with my neighbors. So, you just feel that at any time someone is just going to come at the door and they will yell out loud. So in this case, a co-working space would be very useful so that I can go and sit in a nice place. It's quiet and I can give my courses there. Luckily, I'm not having any fights with the neighbors today. The fourth point is that the institutes or the training centers can provide online teaching courses, and they can do them online. So this way they will be supporting teachers in different ways, that they will be giving them augmented service. They are not just providing the studios and the video editing services and the co-working space, but also they will be teaching them how to teach online. And this might be a bit supportive. Going to the parents, according to the experience that I had with the parents who were, given me the chance to teach their kids, and they were actually struggling with technology like more than the teachers or any teachers that you would see, because many of them have never dealt with technology before, and the maximum that they could do was just check in or browsing their Facebook. So what I usually try to do with the parents is to teach them the basics of technology, to tell them what to do and to walk with them step by step. And I think that this is a part of our job as teachers. We're not just there to teach the kids or the students, but we are also there to support the parents to become better parents to their own kids. So we can actually, try to pass some of the basics of technology to them and help them. And I also try to tell the parents to whatever that they used to do in the offline classes or in the school when they were following up with the teachers and the kids' assignments, they have to do it also with the online classes. They have to follow up with them. They have to ask what the kids are doing and what is their grade and everything, not just because now they are online, now they can actually depend on themselves, because this will take like a long time to change the mindset. Especially here that many of the parents, like I know many parents in my family who are actually struggling with following up because they just say that my kids are sitting with their laptops or their phones all day long, and we have no idea what they are doing. Are they taking the class? Are they studying? Are they following up with the teacher? So some of the parents started actually to attend the classes with their kids just to get familiar with what's going on, and they are following up with the teacher, and they know what's happening with their children. And also what I usually try to what I tell my the parents who take the courses is that to teach their kids technology so that they wouldn't have to go through the same issue again. For the teachers, the only tip that I usually give is just to start with teaching online, because you'll never know what will happen. Even if the pandemics just end, you might actually like online teaching. The final tips that I have, which is having a plan B, like when the internet at home just fails, we just I have my own mobile data just to cover me if something wrong goes with it. And the second thing was charging my phone and computer before any class, just in case there is a power cut. They will just save me for some time. And also creating your own workstation at home if this is possible, to make sure that the class is quiet. And also number 4 is organizing your own material that you give to the students online, so that they wouldn't be like headless chicken going around not knowing where their material is. Number 5 is, as we talked about it before, you need to support the parents to make your life easier eventually. And number 6, try to choose user-friendly tools in the beginning. Even if the parents want to use WhatsApp or Facebook in the beginning, you don't just have to go to using the cloud and Google Classroom. You can just adapt until they feel more familiar. And number 7, we need to keep our promises. I just try to remind myself of this. If I told them if I'm gonna record something or send them something online, so I really have to keep my word as much as I can. And number 8, we just I try to make recorded videos along with my classes, and to give it to the students as support for their the courses that they have. If there are any frequently asked questions or any problems that they have, I record it as a video and I send it to them as a supplementary material. Finally, embrace your perfect imperfections. I used to feel very scared from the online recorded videos because I always think about what if I make a mistake in pronunciation or grammar? What if I don't look okay? What if there are black circles around my eyes? My scarf is not done right. So I just started to to just have the best intention, do my best, and just let it go. Last, I'm so glad that I went through the experience of online classes. It saved me time. I no longer have to feel sad because of the hot weather or very cold weather that I go through when I used to go outdoor. And this gave me time to spend with my family. And also, I really believe that whether we are teaching online or offline, we can always connect with our students because humans can actually find a way to come together no matter what happens in the world. So that was my talk for this. I was just talking about, like my own experience with online teaching, and I really cannot thank you all enough. Thanks for the host, and thanks for Ms. Hannah for inviting me to this talk, and thanks Ms. Ayed for the beautiful introduction that you have made, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Basma. That was so inspiring, and everybody's just saying that your challenges are ours. You've just said it all. You've just said what we've all been through. So thank you so much. Everyone is saying great presentation, lovely talk, amazing. And we all love the visuals in your presentations. So
Thank you so much.
thank you so much. That was really inspiring.
Thank you.
So yeah, I don't think that we have any questions. You've just said it all. You've just said all the questions that we've been through the challenges and answered them.
Thank you so much. Really
thank
appreciate
you.
being here.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Basma.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hannah, so.
Yes, what about me? Yes.
Yeah, no.
We got Ola.
Are we ready? Ola's here?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Ola.
Hi. Good morning.
Hello. Morning, Ola. Sorry, haven't seen you. So yeah.
Yeah, no
Hello.
problem.
How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. We're good.
Good morning,
thank
everybody,
you.
and thank you for inviting me for this summit. I'm really glad to work with all of you.
Thank you. Basma, may I ask you please to stop sharing so that Ola can start sharing here? Or maybe Ola, can you start sharing? Maybe if you start screen, it might stop the other. Yes, good.
That's done.
So let me go ahead and introduce you until you get ready.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So Ola Hosni is an educational research and development specialist with over 20 years of experience. She is specialized in examining policies pertaining to education in local and global contexts. She's also trained governmental and international teachers on their diversified instructional classroom and assessment strategies that serve varied contexts and outcomes. Ola is going to talk to us today about closing the gap of online teaching goals and hands-on activities. So Ola, it's all yours.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today and to share my experience. So what I actually teach is postgraduate diploma. So all my students are actually teachers and they are fed up from their students. So they come up to our class with a lot of frustration because they have also their duties with their students. So from my own experience, I found that the online learning gap is basically a problem with a solution. And the problem comes with there's difference between the advanced learners and the academically challenged students. So we all have in our classes some students who are really doing very good and some that are struggling with the content, with how we teach, with the environment itself. So there is always a gap, I would name, between the intended curriculum that we have and what we really achieve on ground. And that's why I feel always that there is need to personalize the support for the students, or as we say, diversification, and to diversify our teaching strategies, our assessment, and so forth. So my thought about it is that we have to have the solution is about specifying the goals and promoting the hands-on activities. Why would we do this? I will show you in a few seconds in the coming slides. But my thinking is what do I really need to achieve? This is one thing. What do I really need to achieve? What kind of change do I need to achieve? And how would I promote this change? Or how would I do it inside the class with the online teaching? I'm not seeing the students. Each one has his own specific environment that I have to cope with. So I started thinking, okay, let's think of first specifying the goal. From my own perception and from the readings in the literature, I discovered that the goal is some sort of a change that you want to do to your students. So they are in a specific, I would say, entry point, and you want to drive them to a specific exit point. So what kind of change do you want to do to the students? So they would understand something, conceptualize something, and it's not about an action, because it's not about our class only, it's about a concept that they would take and apply it in their own classes. So this is how I envisioned the goal. And I decided to write the goal always in the form of a qualitative change that I want to do to my students, and thus using a non-measurable verb, and it would be something overarching. So usually I have only one goal. I have only one goal for my semester, and then I divide this goal to as much objectives as I want, because the objectives is the real actions that, or the broken steps of the goal. So I take the objectives as specific actions that if I followed them in a sequential order, I would achieve my goals. And of course, each goal has an outcome as the result, and each objective has an output as a result. So this is
Ola, can we maybe ask you just to enlarge the screen or go full screen, because
yeah,
it's
sure.
not very clear. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, is that better?
Yes, I guess. Yeah.
A slideshow would be nicer if you can.
Yeah, sure. Just give me a second. Okay. Yeah, does that look better? Can you see the slides?
Still in that mode, editing mode. Can you see your screen at the very bottom? There is that, yes. Can you go a little bit to the left next to the minus? No, where you were, there was the 90% view, right? Now.
Yeah, but it's okay. So I have to exit because I'm working on a MacBook, so that's why sometimes
it's not that clear to you what's going on. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry for this.
Never mind. I mean, there are two ways to activate slideshow. Either click that slideshow sign at the very bottom, or go to the slideshow menu.
Yeah, I already activated it. So
I think it's clearer now. I think it's clearer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's clear for everyone.
Yeah. Is it okay?
I'm not sure. So
I think it's better. I can see it better, and someone Vance is saying it's fine now. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just a second, because it seems like okay. Yeah. Now it works. Yeah. So let me go back again. So we were talking about the goal. So I divide the goal into specific, very measurable objectives. And my objectives are usually some sort of steps. How am I going to act inside the class? What do I need to do in order to effect the change, which I name the goal for my students? And such objectives is like an immediate solutions. So for example, if I'm trying to teach my students or to conceptualize a solid paragraph, how to write a paragraph with a topic sentence, supporting sentences, and closing sentence. So I would start with differentiating between the three types of the sentences, and then I would train them on each sentence on their own. I would allow them a hands-on activity to differentiate between them, and then I would allow them to exemplify structuring a paragraph and give them feedback and reflections inside the class. So I take all this in the form of objectives. Okay, so I do not focus anymore when I specify the goal. I just specify to see the overarching thing, the change that I want to do to my students. But actually what I focus on is the immediate objectives or steps as I go. Okay, so I will give you some examples of the goal that I would write. Students conceptualize the structure of a solid paragraph. So this is conceptualized, it's non-measurable, it's something qualitative, something that you really cannot do unless you specify it in a specific measurable things. Another example is students understand addition and subtraction, students recognize the difference between pets and wild animals. So this is how I do my specification of the goal. The other thing that I discovered also with the online teaching, which is really very challenging for all of us, is the promoting hands-on activities. Again, because my students are old enough to get bored and to have other things in their mind as they attend our classes, and they have sometimes even their children running around them and so forth. So I discovered that some of them just log in and they unmute and they close the camera, and then they go and do whatever they are doing. So, and they lose actually interest. And when we come to the assignments and the exams and so forth, they just seem like they have never heard about the topics that we discussed. So what I try to do is, as I was doing in the face-to-face classes, is promoting hands-on activities. And this actually was done through different instructional strategies. And by practice, I discovered that there are 6 instructional strategies that are really very good in online teaching. Two of them is a little bit challenging, which is number 4 and number 6, the role playing and the case studies. But the other 4 is very easy, and it challenges, they challenge the students and they keep them highly engaged as we go. So what I tried to do at the very beginning is to put my students in groups, cooperative learning, and give them common tasks. Each group has the common task, has common tasks for even the members of the groups. And then I set a comparison or a competition or whatever between the groups when they finish their work. This is done easily through the breakout rooms on the Zoom. And actually what I discovered also in the cooperative learning is that they, as you can see here, they feel the appreciation of the group members. So it doesn't only work on their academic achievements, but also on the personal achievements. And one another thing is that some of the groups is really stronger than the other, and the division of the groups depends much on how I see the topic and relevance to the capacity of the students. So in some cases, when the topic is well understood or the students have a good background information about this topic, I usually divide up the students with diversified groups. So I put someone who's very strong with someone who's a little bit academically challenged together so they can support each other, and I rely much on scaffolding.
Sorry, Ola, it seems that we cannot see the slides moving, so they are on the same slide. Can you stop sharing and share again?
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry for this. So yeah, I'll stop.
Problem.
So can you see it now?
Yes, now how does cooperative learning work?
Yeah, I will just change. I'll change to the previous one so I can make sure that it's working. So did I change? Okay,
yeah, that's great.
Okay, perfect. So this is the kind of challenges that we face with the technology as what's happening now. Yeah, so back to our cooperative learning. So what is really was important with the cooperative learning is that I promote the critical thinking of the students, how they can deal with each other, how they can even criticize each other, and not only the content that we're delivering within the task of each group. So this is the cooperative learning. The other thing is the problem-based learning, and the problem-based learning, actually, I discovered that it's working as well, very well, because we focus on a complex problem. And usually this problem is brought up by one of the students when they share the challenges that is happening inside their classes. And surprisingly, when I just allow them for a brainstorming of what kind of challenges you're facing inside the classes, they come up with things that most of the other students agree that they face the same challenge. So we start discussing it and how things can go with this problem and how we can solve this problem. And I allow them 30 minutes or something brainstorming, and then again they go into groups and they start working on this complex problem triggered by some questions from my side. Okay, and when we talk about the problem-based learning, we're basically focusing on effective problem-solving skills. So some of the students, they find it easy for them, so they jump up with solutions that is not necessarily working in a specific context. So what I try to do is to relate this to the context that is encouraging or an enabling environment for the students. So I ask them, okay, you're suggesting this solution, so what's your context? Why do you think this solution is working well for you? And then they try to justify their solutions. And then we take the solutions and we go back again to our groups and discuss whether or not we have the same enabling environment, or whether it is a disabling environment, how we can solve this issue with the school administration, and then we go back again. So I try with the problem-based learning to make things very down to earth, and it's very fundamental for them to go back and forth with the solutions until we come up to something that is really, I wouldn't say common for everyone, but I would say actionable to everyone that they can do, even either on the class level or on the school with the administration and with their peers and so forth. So I don't allow usually the problem-based learning to come up with solutions that is not genuine solutions. And this actually they enjoyed very much, and it takes only one session. So we don't take much with the problem-based learning and even the cooperative-based learning. And then we move on to the project-based learning. The project-based learning is a little bit challenging, but if you design it very well from the very beginning, it can take the whole semester. And the good thing about the project-based learning is that when we broke up the activities, when we broke up the objectives, we can relate each objective to a part of this project. So I take some good timing in the planning and preparation of the semester. And so I did this in this semester. I designed a big project because the project is basically asking the students to come up by the end of the semester with an end product, maybe a website. So my example this semester is that I asked my students to design a website for a newly launched school that allows students with special abilities, and that is like announcing and launching all about everything, the instructional strategies, the assessments, the infrastructure of the school, the professional development of the teachers, and everything, and the activities, everything about the school. So what I really did here is that I started to see what I wanted to do. I wanted to do the overarching goal here for this semester for the project-based learning was that students conceptualize the school components. The school components in the sense of I found many of my students, which are basically teachers, they come up and they say, okay, it's basically our administration is not that good, or we do not find support from our supervisors, or they don't give us training, or they criticize, they keep criticizing and criticizing all the time their schools without thinking that some things is really linked to other components and you cannot do this without this. So what I allowed them to do is that I engaged them highly into the whole thing about the school and how to approach the development of like a holistic system for the school. Okay, so this was my overarching goal. And then I divided up this goal into specific objectives, and I related each objective to a specific component in the project-based learning. So this was a little bit complicated. And I asked at the very beginning of the semester, who is good really in what, who wants to think about, for example, the professional development of the teachers, who would like to think about the infrastructure. So each and everyone decided on their interests. And then we divided up the groups based on the interests of the students. And we started working on that. So this means that, again, they are working with cooperative learning, but the assignments are different in each group. And when we come to the end, we will put the end product of each group together, so we'd end up with the website for our new school. So this was really, up till now, I'm in the middle of the semester, so up till now it's working very well. And what is really working well with them is that I decided on a specific milestones that we would like meet up together. So I don't have a class on weekly basis or something like this. No, I have a specific milestones where we meet up together and we see the achievement of each group. So what was really good is that I discovered that they meet up beside our milestones timing on their own, and they check on each other and how things are going, and they check on the intersections between their works and how they should resolve any intersections, how they support each other if they found a specific documents that can help with their components. So again, it triggered not only the academic part, but also the personal part. The role playing, I did it in a different background because it's really challenging a little bit. And we all know the role playing and how it works very well inside the class in the face-to-face sessions. But for me, it was a little bit difficult when we come to the online sessions. But some of the students actually encouraged me, and they gave me action because we have always a brainstorming at the very beginning of each session. So we talk about what you feel about the instructional strategy that you were using, how this was influential on your performance and so forth. So I had 2 or 3 students at the beginning of the semester encouraging me to try the role playing, because they are kinesthetic and they want to move on, and they want to use the technology, the cameras and so forth. So they encouraged me to be the leaders of the groups to make a role play. I was a little bit suspicious about that because I know that it wouldn't be easy for some people, specifically those who's not technology oriented. But we tried it twice up to now, and it's working actually up to now good. I would say good. One of them was a little bit challenging, but the other was good. And what happened is, again, that we divided the students into groups, and each group took, we did it actually on a reading. So we did a flipped classroom with role play. What we did is that each group took a document or a literature to read, and then they would, instead of giving us an annotation of this reading, they gave us a role play about this reading to relay the core concepts of the reading. So it was on a small task, but it really helped very much with getting people engaged and actually excited about what they are reading. So this was another thing that helped much with the hands-on activities that we're talking about. Then the role play thing, what I really discovered with the role play, which I had much fear about it, is the guidelines about the content. And that's why, the guidelines about the content, which is point number 5 here. And that's why I actually did it on a reading, not on another thing, not on a concept, not on anything but a reading, because I wanted to make sure that there are guiding principles that are guiding the group members with role play. I gave them only 10 minutes each, and I gave them a time of 2 weeks to prepare themselves and video record the role play, and to check upon the technology, whether it's working or not, and these things. And all what they had to do is to write a narrative about the script that they are going to present in the role play. So it helped much, it worked very well. And what I was really a little bit, again, suspicious about is that they consume the timing of the class, but the students accepted very much that they do all their work at home, and they do the videotaping at home and everything on their own. And then they come and display it only during the class, and it worked actually very well. Okay, the inquiry-based learning is another instructional strategy, again, that worked very well with me, specifically that students come up, when we talk about the inquiry-based learning, it's about allowing the students to think critically at the very beginning about a specific topic, and then come up with questions, and then search the answers for these questions and come with answers for these questions. So what, again, helped me with the online teaching, with the inquiry-based learning, is that the questions at the very beginning they were very broad, and some of them were irrelevant to the topic that we had. But the exercise of refining the questions was really very useful, because it promoted the critical thinking of the students. And we started saying, yes, what does it mean to have a relevant question, and what is an irrelevant question? So it worked on the enhancement of the research skills of the students, which I believe personally is very important for the teachers. It's not about only the teaching skills, but again, the research skills. So this was one of the things that helped me triggering students' mind about what could be helpful, what a question that could be helpful. And then when we aligned all the questions together, we again split it up into groups, and each group took the question and started working on finding answers for these questions. It was very useful. It was, again, done in a timely manner, and it actually helped with communicating and defending a scientific argument, which is point 6 here, because some of them came up with answers that are, again, not relevant, same exercise that happened with the questions. But when we had our milestones discussions, they discovered on their own, and they criticized themselves, and they went back and asked for additional time to find out and search and inquire about solutions for the answers. So this, again, one of the things that helped me. Finally, an instructional strategy that helped me also is the case study, which is a single example of a specific, for example, school or a specific professional development program or so forth. And when we come to use a case study, what helped actually teachers or my students, because they are teachers again, is to criticize the case study. So it's not about that I gave them a case study and an answer and the questions and they answer these questions. No, they started saying, okay, why did this happen? So we actually went out of the borders that we had from the very beginning, and we started thinking of why this case study happened, and then we started to answer the questions on this case study. So again, this was one of the things that helped me much with getting them engaged and thinking about the topic itself, and again affecting the change that I wanted to make to my students, which is the big overarching goal that I had from the very beginning. Okay. So if I would say, I would recommend these 4 instructional strategies to really promote the online learning and make it much easier for everyone. So I would start with the cooperative learning, inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning, and then project-based learning. And I would leave the role-playing and the case study to the end. If you feel as a teacher that you can do it online, that would be good, but it really needs some sort of a good preparation and planning and some sort of a good monitoring of the students' engagement. And sometimes of students finding a way to present their input. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hola. Thank you. Yep. Children say inspiring, student engaging activities, and very beneficial. Very good. Do you have any questions, Tola? So I think you said that the 4 that we have on screen are the ones to start with, are less challenging maybe in online classes?
Yeah, actually, yes. The other one, the role playing and the case study, is really beneficial, but it's very challenging. So I think these 4 are more easy to go with the students. The students grasp the concepts very easy. You allow yourself a good timing for the preparation, but it's not very heavily overwhelming. And you find a way to find the milestones to check upon the students' engagement or achievements. So I really endorse these 4 strategies, and beside them is the role playing and the case studies.
Yeah, and is it the same from the students' side as well? So do you think that the students could see that these 4 are easily managed and they are more engaging for them? So you've been talking about the teacher's side, but is it the same from the students' perspective as well?
Yes, actually, that's why I give at the very beginning of each session, we have 15 minutes discussion on how effective our strategies are doing with the students. Yep. So I ask them, is it working well? Do you face any challenges? Can you understand this? Do you need any supporting explanation or tutoring or lecturing or whatever? So we give ourselves 15 minutes reflections at the very beginning of each session to make sure that things are going. The other thing that helped me with this as well is having students a little bit, allowing them to decide on the groups that they go with. So they enjoy it actually very much. They enjoy working with their friends. They enjoy working with academically challenging students and supporting them. So yeah, it worked very well actually with the students. And that's why I'm taking out from this slide the role play and the case study, because I got some, I wouldn't say negative reflections, but I would say challenging reflections. And the most challenging is the time consumption.
Of course, yeah. And I like that you said giving the students the choice, even in groupings, because this would add to the class, would enrich the class, I guess, and the students' experience.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah. And when they feel that they have the room to express themselves, they feel loyal to what they are doing. So many of the groups actually, they finished when we were talking about the problem-based learning and the inquiry, they finished their work ahead of the deadline. So they were actually so excited about it. And I am personally so excited to see the project-based learning at the end of semester and see the product. Yeah.
Yes. Everyone is thanking you so much, Ola, for the ideas, and they are, so Ganga said, they are helpful to everyone involved in teaching learning activities. The practical steps, and I think the milestones was a very good and important point that you mentioned. And yes, lots of thanks, very interesting. And someone is asking for your email, I guess, if they would need
with pleasure,
some ideas.
Right now here.
Good. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Anybody would like to ask Ola anything about the approaches that she's been introducing? No?
I just want to say thank you very much, Ola, for joining us. A real pleasure, and hope we just collaborate more and more.
It's my pleasure, Hannah. Thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ola.
Thank you.
I guess we do have a break now, Hannah, right?
A good break, I think. A 45-minute break, well-deserved.
Yeah.
Coffee, food, and we'll be back at what time, Ed?
We'll be back at 1:30. Give me a second. Yes. So 1:30 Cairo local time. Yes.
And this means it's going to be 11:30 a.m. UTC. All right. Are we coming back to part 1 room, or are we moving to another link? I think it's
You're
the
checking
other
with me or checking with the audience. Is this
checking with
I know. I'm checking with the. Yes. So we're coming back with a new link. Yeah. We're coming back with a new link for day 2, part 2. Yes.
All right. So new link, everyone, and I am starting the room just so nothing of the sort like yesterday happens. No bombs, no landmines.
Ola, is it possible? Sorry, Hannah, is it possible to post the link here?
Of course.
Because
if you can,
are attending, so they can just.
Why not you grab it from the box? Okay.
Oh. Cheers.
You make a suggestion.
Oh, Hannah is testing. Hannah is. Oh.
No, I'm not testing. I'm just unable to do it myself. Vance, you have a comment?
Yeah, can you put the link somewhere where I can find it? The stream link. Stream link.
Okay. Okay. The streaming link. Oh yeah.
Let me know in Facebook or something like that.
All right. What I'm going to do, guys, here is just a shortcut for those in the room. This is a direct link, and this is our password. Don't tell anyone about it, okay?
That's perfect.
This is a direct link for everyone. Just okay, keep it secret. All right. If you want the streaming, I have to end this room, okay, and stop the stream, and then go, to the second room, open it, and get the stream. I mean, the stream of it, okay? Because I think every single stream is with a different URL on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, I believe so. And there's one more thing. I just want to test my Camtasia. So I'm doing that now. So,
okay. So everything is in good shape. Okay, and we'll be back in 45 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Group photo. Group photo.
Very good job, by the way.
Excuse me, Vance? I couldn't hear that.
Doing a good job.
Oh yeah. Everyone is. Thank you, guys. You are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you'd better visit me at some point in the future. I'm not really sure I'm gonna survive, but whenever, just ask around. Just bring me flowers. Maybe chocolate would help. Thank you.
Yeah. I owe you some. Yeah, I owe you some.
All right.
Okay, let's all take a break.
Let's do that. So I'm ending all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. See you in 14 minutes.
Bye.